Get it all out, Eric. You'll feel better. Come on, get it all out.
I start putting up my new logo, social media anyway.
Oh, yeah, it is there.
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah. Should be on YouTube. Yep, it is. Look at that. When it opens up full screen before I make it live. Oh, I gotta fix the blue I gotta fix the watermark.
Oh, the banner? Are you talking about?
No, there's a watermark on the YouTube. I forgot. I changed the banner and the icon, but I need to get that icon scaled a little smaller.
Oh,
my brother was gonna work.
I see what you mean. It's down by Eric.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you could do that. That's interesting.
Oh, you didn't know you could do that?
Well, but what the interesting part is, if I move my mouse like off screen, then it goes right down beside Eric, way in the corner. But if I move it up, it shifts up, so it's visible.
What? Yeah, that's what the whole point of it is.
Yeah, that's the thing when using Ecamm. If you change logo on one frame, you've got to change them on every frame. And I'm sure there's a way to just set up a template to do that. So you just change the template, but I haven't been able to figure that. Yeah,
I'm ready to hear from Doc and the crew to start training us on some stuff.
Yeah.
What the heck came up today?
And we were talking about.
Oh, yeah, it was with you, Marty. Yeah.
Right. Is Ecamm a reflector or just a connecting, it connects people versus it's actually driving the show? Chuck, you had a better way of saying it. Yeah.
Well, I think what did I say? It was very intelligent.
Yeah. You're not allowed intelligence outside of work hours.
Mm-hmm. We're not sure we're allowed it inside work hours because the way it's going. What the hell was that?
Hey, Brian.
It was a question of where's the burden of the program running? Is it running through Ecamm, or is all it doing is using us to connect us to the same account?
Yeah, is it a peer-to-peer or is it going through an Ecamm server? That was it. Yeah. Okay. Intelligence has returned briefly. Very briefly.
We'll give Jeff like 2 more minutes and then we'll just start and let him, he can jump in when he gets here. Hear about the All-Star game, Bernie?
Yeah. 2027 in Chicago.
And Wrigley. First time it's got to be in like 30 or 40 years.
To me, that's kind of amazing because that's not a big ballpark. And you think they would go for venues that are bigger ballparks, but.
No. They've had them in small ballparks about the same size, I think.
Yeah. By then, 2027, all of our All-Stars would have been traded away. So.
That's probably what will happen. They're on a roll right now, though.
Yeah. I'm wearing my Wrigley Field clock.
Oh, I knew exactly what it was.
Yeah. I have one that says Friday 120 on it, and people ask me, what does that mean? I said, it's my favorite verse of the Bible.
Afternoon games.
It's the book of Friday, chapter 1, verse 20.
Wrigley Field.
I like that.
All right. We'll go ahead and get started, and Jeff will be here eventually. You guys are waiting.
On the record now.
Yep. And let me kick off audio hijack. We're good. Everybody sounds good. I sound good.
Yep.
Good
Good.
stuff. There we go.
Jeff Gamet.
Oh, there he is. But perfect timing.
Where?
Wait a minute.
Where?
Damn it, Gamet.
Perfect timing.
Hey. Sorry I'm running a little late.
Yeah.
It's one of those days or weeks or months or lives, whatevs.
Give me a little game, my friend.
God, you want everything. Hold on. Okay, how is that? Better?
Much better.
I can give you a little more
Yeah.
if you want.
No, I
Oh,
think
Dave,
it's okay.
if you want a little more, I'll give you a little more.
Yeah, that first level of gain sounded like you were narrating one of those pulp fiction books, lovey-dovey.
All right,
And
here we
then
go.
Chuck sauntered into the room,
Before Eric loses it.
sweat on his brow, a quiver on his upper lip.
The fact that you have that kind of thing at your command all the time, Jeff, is just really disturbing.
Thank you. Okay, did I get my gain back where you need it?
Yeah, he sounds okay, doesn't he? He's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sound
Here we
good.
go.
Okay.
Totally distracted
In-
by the cane.
There we go. 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to episode 360 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, Vision Pro, Mac, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and we have our great panelists here this week. Eric Bolden is here. How you doing, Eric?
Great. It's a wonderful day today. So glad to be here.
And what do you got behind you today?
Oh, this is a
Mini kiwi.
It's a plant.
thank you.
Dave,
Kiwi.
it's a plant.
I was
testing him as I knew he couldn't remember on Tuesday.
It's green. It's green, Eric.
This is a male kiwi plant. The female kiwi plant, I haven't taken the picture yet. She was shy. But winter hardy. So this summer I will have little kiwis.
There's
when a boy kiwi and a girl kiwi fall in love.
Don't go there.
We know how it works.
Then that's delicious.
Let's move on here. Chuck Joyner. I'm so glad you're here. How you doing, Chuck?
I'm great, Dave, but you're counting on me for sanity here. After that, no, I can't follow that.
No. Marty Gensius, thank you for being here. You got your Wrigley Field scoreboard clocks t-shirt.
Clock on, yes. Yeah, I'm doing great. Enjoying this. And there's, when Eric tells us that this is a male kiwi plant, that just is like a slow, easy pitch over the center of the plate in terms of jokes.
Oh yeah, it never could stop. And so glad Jeff Gamet's back with us. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing all right, and I'm really happy to be here with everyone. I'm so glad I'm here because I would have missed out on the Kiwi conversation.
It is a very important conversation, that's for sure. So.
Isn't that right, Chuck?
Whatever you say, Jeff. Whatever you say.
Do you want to see my Kiwis, Chuck?
We're getting way in the weeds here. So let's go ahead and get started. We got all kinds of good stuff this week in Vision Pro, the Mac, and iPhone. And I got signed out, and I don't know why. Because I've lost my notes here. Oh, bear with me here. Why did you do this to me, Google? All right, here we go. I'll not much in beta this week because we just got the new version of iOS, and I look at it blank here, and we've got plenty to talk about this week. But let's talk a little bit about In Touch with Vision Pro. And I couldn't resist to put this. I know we talked about this on the Vision Profiles, which I was great to be on. That the Price is Right price was wrong because these folks were off by thousands when they were guessing the cost of the Apple Vision Pro. What happened was the contestants were out on stage, and they have to bid for the product, and you saw the Vision Pro drop down from the ceiling, and people looked at it, and they, we know how much it costs, $34.99. So one person said $1,000, then someone said $750. Boy, I would love it to be $750. And then the closest was $1,270, but of course it was way off by thousands. And no one made it have a clue of it. I guess us Apple fan boys and girls probably noticed it more than anything else, right, Marty?
Yeah, I just think Apple is not, and everybody that's writing about Vision Pro is not talking about the price enough. It just it needs to be
right, but not enough.
Yeah, but if this will force them not to change the price, because they're gonna, till people get it right and people know what it is, they can just keep that price centered right where it's at.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, so I have what for me is shocking perspective on this. Like, I am more shocked than anyone else that I would have a perspective on this. My parents enjoy watching Price is Right. I've spent a lot of time with them recently.
Oh, okay.
And one thing that happens consistently on the show is that when electronic devices like computers are the thing that they have to guess the price of, they're consistently way under, unless it's like a Dell laptop, and then they're way over the price. So the real story here would have been if someone had been on their price line or whatever they call the thing and said $34.99, because no one can get electronics right for pricing on that show.
No,
also, Drew
never.
Carey, man, what happened to that man's charisma?
He's got a little soul patch now.
He does have the soul patch, and he wears the tennis
Yeah.
shoes with his suit, but he sounds like someone just sucked his soul out.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll tell you, if you asked my wife what this thing cost, she would have probably given these prices too, because that's what I've told her it costs.
Maybe the real story here is all
she
the
finds out.
people's partners had them and lied about the price.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
my wife knew exactly what it was because she was with me when I purchased it. So.
Well, that's not very smart, Dave. You better.
Well, she surprised me because we went to the store and said, "You're going to get this." I'm like, "All right."
She is such a sweet person. I really do like your wife.
Yes. Any thoughts, Chuck?
Yes. This is a legitimate, serious question. What is it about The Price is Right that appeals to so many senior citizens? Because it seems like I know a number of folks, and I've been to some long-term care facilities, and and I am not casting aspersions, but the fascination seems to be with The Price is Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is.
50 years, it must be doing something right.
Well, yeah, it's an interesting cultural phenomenon as far as I'm concerned, because I just don't understand the appeal of the show. But it's working.
Fixed income? I mean, they're living on a fixed income, so they are more kind of sensitive about gauging prices, and they see that as the kind of win.
They like going to Vegas and gamble, or the casino to gamble.
Yeah, it's an interesting that you would bring it up here, because I just see it so often, and it's one of those things that you sort of make a mental tick note of and say, "Oh, yeah, okay, again," and then move on with whatever you're doing. So
maybe they're just really into hearing Bob Barker say, "And remember, everyone, don't forget to spay and neuter your kids."
Exactly.
yes.
Oh, Bob Barker. So next item on the list here for Vision Pro, there's this app. It's called Mirror Vision. I think we talked about this before, if I'm not mistaken. This app allows you to use your iPhone and iPad camera and stream its feed to your Apple Vision Pro. It's meant to serve as a mirror, so for the times that your back is towards the foot traffic areas, you'll be fully immersed on around yourself here. So now this has been out for a bit. I don't. Have either of you, Marty or Eric, tried this before?
This is Eric's baby because I
That's right.
have a whole attitude about this one. He and I differ like oil and water on this one.
Go for
That's
it,
good.
Eric.
That's just because you haven't had to spend time trying to figure out who you can actually ask to see, hey, is there a tick in my back? You know, it's I think it's like the perfect app if you're trying to, get dressed and make sure everything looks good. You don't have any cat hair on the back, whatever. It's like having one of those, three-fold mirrors where you can walk in and see all of the angles and everything. You just have your phone up on the wall, you put on your Vision Pro, you look good, and then you can rotate around, see everything. Yeah, in an office it would be good too, but I just like it as a mirror that lets you see all sides.
I can't unhear that, Eric. Just to
At least you didn't have to unsee it.
What do we got
Why-
going on here?
Sorry,
Why,
Chuck.
why am I here? What show have I stumbled onto here?
Yeah. Maybe we should move on.
It's a useful
I
tool.
don't know. Maybe we shouldn't.
Okay. You have an opinion on this?
I do not. I'm just loving listening to Eric talk about it.
I think we've had enough.
All right.
I mean, no.
ahead,
I
Tom.
think we should let Eric discuss other use cases for this. That's what I want to hear.
Well, give us a little bit more detail what it really does and what is it what its value to you is you find it value of others.
Well, the place where I found it the most valuable is really as a mirror for me, right? I really like kind of like the three-part mirrors where you can see, you can see your shirt needs to get tucked in differently, whatever, like a wardrobe kind of mirror. They talk about use it so that you can see people coming in behind you in a cube or through a different door in an office. And you can, in fact, turn it so that both cameras on front and back are active. So you can kind of see both directions all at the same time and just have it there. I think you can have it trigger on motion so that if you're really immersed, concentrating on work, and then somebody comes in, it will trigger pop up so that you can see, yeah, somebody's trying to get your attention. And you don't have to wait for them to stand there for 10 minutes or to go up and whack you on the back of the head saying, hey, I've been trying to talk to you, how come you're ignoring me? So
Says,
sort
hey,
of a
why you got the Vision Pro on your
safety
head?
feature. Trying to concentrate, I don't know, so that's there. I kind of want to try putting it like outside next to a bird feeder, like one of those bird feeder cams. And then, you can sit, you can do your work, and a bird shows up and it comes up. I haven't had a chance to try that yet. That's an
So
upcoming.
how do you set it up when it's behind you? Do you put it on a tripod? Do you put it
Well, I just have
He has
one of
someone
those
there holding the
magnetic.
camera.
No, I just have one of those magnetic stands. So the phone is
Okay.
just parked there.
yeah. Okay.
And I think that's sort of how they describe it you just put it on a magnetic stand, and normally you have one side of it facing, but if you've got like two doors, like in my current office here, I've got a door in front of me and a door behind me, and it could watch both.
All right. Well,
it's a convenient app to see people who are coming up behind you, pointing at you and laughing.
what do you got this thing on for?
Yeah. And ticks.
It ticks.
Yeah, and ticks.
Hey, you only
All
need
right.
to have a tick disease once
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
obsessive about finding the little buggers and getting rid of them.
I have never had tick disease, but I have been
Yeah, Lyme disease.
fastidious since I was a small child about making sure I don't have ticks.
It's never fun. All right, let's go on. WWDC is coming up in a few weeks, and there's kind of I found this article interesting about a bit of a wish list and what we like to see at the next Vision Pro. Got more. We kind of have to anticipate that Vision Pro 3 is going to be released. I'm sorry, Vision OS 3 is going to be released. It's like we know it's been out since February of 24, so we've got a little over a year under our belts with it. Now, with all the upcoming changes with Apple Intelligence that have got off the ground with the Vision Pro, that might take a bit of a back seat. So, but I think the big thing we probably are going to see is, I'm hoping this is more native Apple made apps, because you don't see a lot of those available, and I kind of tend to agree about that. And those are the things like the iPad compatibility mode with the clock, calendar, reminders, all those things that are out that we're used to. How those are going to be as beneficial on a Vision Pro, that's to be found. Immersive environments and controls. I think that's going to be something that's good. I don't use that as often. So, Marty, what do you think on this? As far as like immersive, especially immersive environments. I don't play with that enough. Do you use those a lot?
And this is a kind of, and this is why I like doing the show with Eric, because this is kind
Yeah.
of the difference between, I don't use immersive environments and people are clamoring for them more and more. I know Eric uses them probably much more than I ever would. The most immersive I want to get is if I'm watching a film and then maybe I'll go into cinema mode. I think it's an ambitious article. There's a lot in here that if this is all, I can't see it all coming out with
Right.
OS 3. There's just a lot that they're asking for. One of the basic things that wasn't mentioned in the article that I have been craving is
Mhm.
a folder system. And so if you think of the evolution of devices, you think of the evolution of the iPhone. Yeah, we got cut and paste, and we got some other things as the OS developed, but folders would be nice because now I've got like 12 pages of apps and I have to go through all of them to find what I want instead of being able to categorize them or drop them into a games folder, etc. But it is an ambitious article, really ambitious in terms of what the person's wish list is. But I would also say it's a good article for people to read because he does
Yeah.
go, through the whole spectrum of what the possibilities are. When it comes to the native apps, my big thing about don't change an app unless you have a reason for it to be in the environment that it can't do anywhere else. So right now we've got some, but not all apps. Well, we have very few native apps within Vision Pro, and the calling for more of them is to what are they going to do in Vision Pro? How are they going to take care? How are they going to take use of that particular platform that's unique about the platform that the app will be able to enhance in that environment versus outside of it in any other environment. So, we've got a lot of iPad apps in there. I wish
Yep.
developers would start to use the dimensionality, the spatial aspect, and think about their apps in terms of this is something we can do that we can't do in the other platforms. So let's program for that.
Yeah. Any thoughts with you guys? That's something you might want to see. I know it's not, you don't have Division Pro, but it is interesting to see what they could come up with the next generation of operating system.
Well, what Marty just hit on that I will summarize and paraphrase, I think is spot on. Apps that are taking advantage of the interface that Vision Pro offers. And I think that's an important thing. We need to see more apps that are Vision Pro native and take advantage of the things that that sort of interface lets you do. Tied into that, Apple does need to take their app lineup that isn't Vision Pro native and make it
Yeah.
that way. And as part of that, then they're showing other developers, here are the things you can do with apps that make them just for Vision Pro. And I think that would also go a long way towards helping us see Vision Pro as what Apple has told us it is, which is its own unique computing platform, not a supplement to our Mac.
Any thoughts, Chuck?
Yeah, I'm gonna riff on Jeff's idea a little bit but take it in a little different direction. I would love to see Apple spend a bit more marketing money on the Vision Pro, and instead of instead of their usual, and I'm taking nothing away from their usual advertising, but instead of the kind of aspirational advertising that Apple seems to do, or the lifestyle advertising, show us what can be done with a Vision Pro. With the existing apps, with the existing capabilities, show me why I want one. Show the people that watch The Price is Right why they want one, as opposed to, well, this is cool and this is the future, and the immersive environments are great, but you can only sit and stare at a lake for so long, and then you're going to want to do something with it. And I'd love to see a bit more effort put forth on just a little more nuts and bolts, maybe is the best way to say it. Because this, to Jeff's point, this is a new computing platform. And saying you can do this and do that with it until you really put one of those things on your head and see it, you don't truly appreciate just what a difference it makes. And maybe they can't communicate that in a normal environment, but they could at least take a shot at it. And right now, it feels like they really haven't even tried.
Yep. Yeah, that's
They-
definitely.
they-
I don't agree with that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say they do some of that show them or show me with the Apple Intelligence stuff. If you look at their advertising, they're like, look at what you can do with this.
Yeah.
And so doing sort of the same thing for Vision Pro.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting comparison, Marty, because both of those, even now, the whole AI thing, people are still trying to figure out. There are those folks, early adopters, and people that have really dived into it. But a lot of the time, it's just like, well, why would I want it? And I'm afraid of it. And so Apple's doing a good job of trying to explain that and show what it is and why. But with Vision Pro, not so much.
Yeah. Okay,
I-
let's.
I-
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'd like to see them do a virtual display for the iPad and perhaps the phone. Because I'd like to be looking at all of my environment and then be able to like write on an iPad and see what I'm doing without having to stare through the Vision Pro at the iPad. I'd like to have it just brought into the environment. So it's just a little clearer. And I'd love to have mobile immersive environments with motion protection so that you could sit in a car as a passenger, bring up an environment and not get sick because the environment doesn't move the way the car's moving. Kind of like they have that motion protection for the phone when you're reading, where the dots kind of move back and forth.
Yep. All right. Okay.
Otherwise, I like the article. They did a really, really nice job at pointing out things that.
Yeah, even I threw in. I did ask ChatGPT to do a summary of it, and it really gave me some good insights because it was a pretty good sized article. But yeah, it's definitely a good read. Links will be in the show notes, of course. All right, let's go ahead and move on. We will move on to this week in touch with Mac. Just got a couple tips I came across this week. One of them here was found interesting is being how to take your full control of your notifications on your Mac OS. Notifications tend to be you want to be kind of careful balancing them across all of your platforms, whether it be iOS, iPad OS, and of course on Mac OS. But too many times that you're dealing with a state of consistent distractions, because I see it all the time at work when I've got Outlook popping up for me, and when there's an email or you've got notifications that an application needs to be updated because my company forces us to do it. Those kind of things. So what you can do is there's a lot of great things and settings that you can go in and make changes in the app notification settings. So you can go in and specifically say, do you want to allow notifications? Yes or no. You can turn them off. And then you can put focus modes. And I've never been a big fan of focus mode, honestly. I'll ask you guys that in a second about that. But then syncing across with iPhones and iPads, having the continuity features, you got those things going on, and calls on other devices. That's another way of getting distracted. I it drives me crazy every time, and I need to turn off my wife's iPad sitting in the other room because every time I call her or if anybody else calls her, the iPad rings. So,
Yep.
so this goes through some good details as how to actually limit what your notifications are. And I'll go back to focus modes. I don't know. There's something about focus mode that just drives me crazy because you turn it on and then you see it's on, like, oh man, because sometimes you turn it on by mistake. And then all of a sudden you're not getting notifications because you want to hear at least a ding that you got an email, if that's what you're listening to. But what are your guys' thoughts? Chuck, do you use focus mode a lot?
No, I've played with it, Dave, but
Yeah,
I'm like you. I forget to turn it on. I forget to turn it off. It's one of those things that okay, there are times it could be extremely useful if I absolutely wanted to be sealed off from the outside world.
Yeah.
But I feel like there aren't that many times, and there are a whole lot of times that I really can't afford to be sealed off from the outside world.
Right.
So, or however you set up your focus mode. So I played with it. It's like, yeah, okay, it's nice, and I know plenty of people that have the attention span of a gnat that would probably benefit from learning to use it, and it would enhance their lives. But if I need to focus on something, I don't have any trouble focusing on it. And okay, an email, a message pops up, you glance at it. But I personally have trained myself to say, okay, unless I see it's from someone that is really important to me, I'll get it later.
Yeah, and that's what I do too. I keep my phone on silent most of the time because I always have it with me. I mean, it's attached to me 24/7, except when I go to bed, but it's on my nightstand, so it's right next to me all the time. I'm sure most of us here, if not all of us, are like that. But that's the thing. What focus mode does nothing for me because if it goes to vibrate, I can see who's calling, and if I see it's junk, I just ignore it or I just stop or whatever. And same thing with text notifications. You look at them and so you see who it is. Okay, let me look if it's important, and if it's not, you go look at it later. So I kind of stay in the silent mode with that, and I'm like you. If it's not that too terribly important, then I'll get to it eventually. I do that with work too because no one wants to have their work email popping up and tell you have an email addresses messages when you're not working. Because I turn off all notifications, whether it be Teams or Outlook, or anything related to work. That's I have it off all the time because I always remember. I kind of work that way. I remember, okay, let me check email, and I just go into Outlook, and then there's work emails. So everybody's different. How do you do it, Marty? I know sometimes you go yourself into you turn focus mode on when you're.
Yeah, actually,
phone,
I put do not disturb on just before the show, because I have what I like to say is a notifications eating disorder. Basically, it's binge and purge. There are times it's like, oh yeah, I need notifications on that. Oh yeah, especially when you open an app and it offers you the opportunity. Wouldn't you really like to hear from us all the time? Yeah, sure I would. And then, I put it on personal or it slips onto personal. I don't know how it slips onto personal. And suddenly I'm missing everything. And then I go in to clean up my notifications page and there's like 3 days of things that I have to get rid of. So I don't know. I think I'm just going to shut it all off and pick up my phone when I think something's happening.
Yeah. Jeff, do you use focus mode on your phone?
I do, but not in the way a lot of people do. Like I use do not disturb mode a lot. So like if I'm moderating webinars, something like that, I go into do not disturb mode. And then sometimes I use the reduced interruptions mode. And I tried making a few of my own and then ultimately realized I'm only using two. So my approach has been a little bit different, I think. And it's about triaging what messages I actually want and if they're important. So I have messages or I have notifications that show up on my iPhone. And so now that we have the new Tall Trees feature where I can see iPhone notifications on my Mac, my iPhone is my notifications nexus. And if it's actually an important notification, like if I get text messages from a select group of people, those are the things that actually show up on my Apple Watch, right, where I get the tap alert or whatever there.
Mhm.
So I'll look at my iPhone screen when periodically,
Mhm.
just to see if there's notifications there. I will check right away if I get an alert on my watch. And then if I
Yeah,
don't
we do.
want to be interrupted, then it's either reduce interruptions or do not disturb.
Yep, agreed. Anybody else want to add anything before we move on?
I'll just throw in that I think this is one of those features that is great for some people, but it's not necessarily for everyone.
Right.
And so, don't go by what we're saying. Take it and try it for yourself and see if it works. Like so many features that Apple puts into the operating systems now, they're not for everyone, but if they work for you, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I use sleep mode or sleep focus mode at night because that's the one that triggers the watch recording your wrist temperature.
Mm.
And I use that as a kind of hint either that I'm getting sick, so I should avoid people, or that my thyroid medication is off and my temperature starts going up, and then I know I have to take less or call somebody about adjusting it.
Hmm.
Other than
That's
that,
clever.
yeah, and it
Yeah.
works well. Do not disturb. I use that just so I don't get dings because I turn on every notification I can on my Mac, and most of the time I ignore it, but evidently when it goes off during the middle of a meeting, people comment. So do not disturb works well there. The only one that bothers me is personal, because personal gets turned on a lot automatically. And I've never configured it and it doesn't do what I want it to do. So I really need to take time and go in and configure it or set some reminder that says whenever it turns on to turn it off again.
And you can't delete those. The ones that Apple bundled in, they're just
Yeah.
stuck there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, all right, so let's go on to the next topic here. Google had their big announcement at I/O this past week, and it's their annual developer conference, the I/O developer conference, where they shared a number of new features and tools that are coming to its products in the coming weeks and months. There was heavy focus on AI, what a surprise, and Google is now deeply integrating Gemini and other AI tools into its software. Some of the new Gemini features that kind of stood out was Gemini Live, which is now available on the Gemini app for iOS. That was released this week, with adding that feature, and it's free to use. It uses screen sharing on the iPhone's camera, so you can actually actually communicate with Gemini in real time and ask questions what you're seeing. It's also useful for identifying objects and asking questions about things around you, getting help with DIY projects, so on and so forth. And a number of other added things like Gemini Agent Mode, which will let you do things like finding sports game tickets on a deal of price. And it's a lot of stuff you can do on your own, it seems to me. I won't go through all the items here that it has it, but they did put some enhancements in here. And is it something that's going to make me get too overly excited about switching? I don't know. Marty, what do you think? You've turned many of us on to ChatGPT, and I'm having a tough time with it. I'm also, I have to be in the Copilot world too, because I'm doing a presentation at work next week about it. So which I don't mind, because I that's the way we all learn and want to understand everybody's platform. You can't be. I mean, I know we're like that with Apple. There's no question. You don't want to be off of the platform. I am not, because I have to also support Windows. So, but a lot of people only want to be in the Apple world, and if I could, I would. But what do you think on Gemini and versus ChatGPT?
I am right now investing in a bunch of AIs. Gemini is one of them.
Oh, okay.
And in order to kind of be better prepared for this, but it's so hard the playing field is so full. And I'm looking at this article and it's like, okay, now here are some other subcategories I have to remember, like personal context, AI Ultra, if I want to pay $250 a month,
Ouch.
VO3, Imagine 4, and deep research, which deep research you can do with ChatGPT. So everybody's picking up everybody else's ideas, and the playing field's just getting completely full. I'm trying to prepare for Macstock and do something on AI at Macstock.
Yeah,
And one of
that's
the
right.
things I did was use deep research to do a comparison in terms of all the different AI agents that are out there, or the major AI agents that are out there. What is the privacy issues?
Yeah.
And the distinction between how Apple's handling privacy, or proposing to handle privacy with AI, versus how other services are using your data. And they're building their models off of the data you give them.
Yep.
And you're not necessarily getting anything in return. In case some cases you're actually paying them to do that. So I'm fascinated with that. That'll probably be something that I'll talk about. But it's getting so full. I think that the outcome will be, if Apple's going to outsource some of this, possibility is, okay, you've got Apple, you've got the personal cloud, you've got that you've got your own on device, you've got the cloud that Apple controls, and then at that point you go, I think I want to purchase this extension, Gemini. I think I want to purchase this extension. So you'll have a selection. Apple will get its cut. Gemini or whatever other AI system will get their cut and will be
Mhm.
on more devices. Um, but it's so crowded now. It's hard to
Yes.
keep them all together in what they do.
Jeff, you got thoughts on this?
As if you have to ask.
I could see it in your face.
Yeah, this is why I can't play poker. So once again, Marty is nailing it. And to build on what he's saying, the playing field right now with the various AI products and features is so complicated that the for the average user, there's no point in even trying to explain any of this. And I'm not saying that people are stupid and wouldn't be able to understand. It's that it's too complicated. It's not relevant for what most people need.
Mhm.
What they need to know is that if they ask their device, whatever it is, to perform a task, that it can do the task. They don't need to know that it's Gemini or ChatGPT or Apple Intelligence or whatever. It just needs to be a thing that works. And I think ultimately people aren't going to care what engine is behind what they're doing. They just want it to do what they want when they ask it to. And then muddying the waters by saying, okay, so you're going to have your AI and it's going to work for you. But if you pay this extra money, you get AI Ultra and it does all the things you want, but it does Ultra. And for
Right.
most people, everything that goes along with AI Ultra might as well be a foreign language because it doesn't make sense and it doesn't matter. And I think this is going to be a big problem for people moving forward because they're just going to be lost trying to figure out what AI thing they want to use. And ultimately, they're not going to go buy or select something. It's whatever's going to be default on their device. They just want it to work. They don't care.
All
I
right.
kind of went off in left field with that. Sorry about that.
No, it was good. Um, Chuck, do you have any thoughts about this? You've been dabbling, and you have ChatGPT now, and then you've been using
Yeah.
that a lot. Have you tried the others?
I played with Claude. I played with oh shoot, I'm blanking now. Elon Musk's Grok, and and of course Gemini. I think we'll wait and see. This is one of those sort of along the lines of what Marty was saying, and maybe it's just me being part of the echo chamber that there are some concerns about Google just having more and more and more information about any of us. And so this is one of those where I'm going to let the brave people take the slings and arrows and report back, because it looks great. And OpenAI may be, doing some of the same things, but it's Google.
Yeah. Well,
And I
it's
don't,
like you.
I don't have a Google Home in my home for that reason.
Well, same thing with the Amazon Echo too.
Yeah, but Amazon feels like their objective is to sell you stuff,
Mm.
where Google seems to want to refine its information about me so it can sell me as the product. And that may be a very subtle difference, but at least it's a difference in my mind.
Okay.
Mm.
Anything you want to add to this, Eric?
Um, it's still early, but
Yeah.
one of the things I'm hoping will come out over the next year or so is what are the comparative energy costs for the different models and different search systems?
Yeah.
Because they kind of
Because they have
skip
to,
over that.
because there's quite an investment of places to have the server farms and the electricity and the heating and air conditioning, and mostly air conditioning because those rooms get mighty hot.
Yeah.
And I've been in those kind of server places. And they got those air conditioners raging 24/7, no matter what environment you are. So
Apple's
um,
making a big point to say that the server farms for their AI is based on the Apple chips,
yeah,
which have lower energy use, also have lower heat associated with it. So I think they see that as a concern with consumers, and they're pushing the fact that their chips run cooler and with less energy expansion. Like Eric says, I don't know how that plays out in the long run, but it's interesting how they're always making a point to talk about the server farms using Apple
yeah.
M1 or M2, M3 chips.
And so just real quick, go on to the AI mode. It's in search. I've been honestly pleasantly surprised how that works, because you search something. We all have gone to Google and searched for something, but that's the first thing's now coming up is the AI mode. So it's giving you an AI descriptive the description of what you searched for. So you can go, so we're so used to going there. And they've got lots of other things they've added. I'm not going to spend a lot of more time on this, but the apps for Gmail and Chrome and Meet are now getting Gemini capabilities as well. A lot more stuff with the Chrome, and I'm not going to talk about Android because we don't use Android here, right? But
Screw those
I think
guys.
yes. So so some interesting things that were announced this week, and I think it's more to come. And we may spin this show a little bit and start. If you notice, we've been talking a lot about AI lately. I think I can't really ignore it anymore, really, because it's going to be a big thing on an iPhone, on it all the time. I just updated the Gemini, and I can't wait to try this. Because it says you brainstorm out loud with the Gemini Live. So I'm curious to see how this works and get some ideas on this as well. So. So it's definitely going to be an interesting thing. That is for sure. So let's go ahead and move on real quick. I'll mention this. Google Translate is now available as a default translation app on the iPhone and the iPad. That just was released. All you have to do is to go change your default app. You go into and install this latest version. It was released this week, and you can set it to the default. So Apple didn't used to do that before. They wanted you to use the Apple. Uh, wanted to use the Apple translation app, and this is interesting. I think the Google Translate tends to work better. What do you use Translate app, Jeff?
I do not. If I need someone to understand what I'm saying, I just say the words louder
And slower.
and slower. Yeah. I said, where is Main Street? And it works. No, surprisingly, and this honestly probably is like a bad thing, that like a white privilege thing, that I don't need to use translator apps right now.
Yeah, that's all right. Anybody else want to add anything to this? All right.
I find I'm using
oh,
the
go ahead,
OS,
sorry.
the operating system translation. I end up using it within apps.
Hmm.
Like I'll be in uh, Mona, the Mastodon
Mastodon, I use
client,
that.
and I've got followers or people I follow all over the world, and I don't understand German, but a lot of times there's some neat posts. And it has a little button, you click it, and it translates, and
Right.
you know, it's enough to understand what's going on in the post.
Oh, holy crap, I'm stupid. Eric, I'm doing that. And it didn't even occur to me that I'm using the translate feature. I really hope I can get by in life on my looks, but I think I'm kind of screwed.
All right, moving on. Another one real quick here. Walmart is going to be selling this this $80 wireless CarPlay adapter, and it's for $33. And a lot of folks have saying this is a pretty good device. This is actually like almost looks like a USB thumb drive, the way it plugs into the port, instead of it being having a little dongle cable on it. So I'm curious to find out if this is if this really is something that works. You know, Marty and I've mentioned a couple different ones that I use in my car, and I'm gonna spend you some money here, Marty. I want to try this out. What do you think?
Yeah, when I was reading through the articles today, I said, wow, this is interesting. Maybe I should get one. And then thought, I only have one car, and I've got one that you suggested to me years ago that works
Okay.
great. And
It's been buggy for me, but I
yeah,
I may hold back. But if anyone doesn't know what this device and all these devices do, is it allows you to be able to use CarPlay wirelessly in your car that doesn't have the option. A lot of the newer cars, I've rented cars and before that it works beautifully. Actually, when I was talking about my wife's new Jeep Grand Cherokee, it's all wireless, so it works really well connecting. So, but if you have older cars, sometimes you don't have that option, but you do have the connections that you can. Because normally you would have to plug in wired with USB. This will alleviate that and give you that option. Chuck, do you use it wired or wireless in your car?
Yeah, I've got a wireless, and actually I had to look it up because I could not remember the name.
I think
It's
it's Carlin, maybe.
no, I'm using a Lortec,
Alertec, okay.
an Lortec, and it's it works about 97, 98% of the time.
Yeah.
And the problem seems to be that once in a while I'll be driving by somewhere, and my assumption is that something tries to grab it or it tries to grab something and send the signal elsewhere because it just disappears. But if I pause it for a second and then hit it again, it comes right back. So it's not a perfect solution so far. If somebody's found a perfect solution, I'd love to hear it. I've read some articles that it may not be these devices. It might be the Bluetooth chip in your car that might not be up to speed because the auto manufacturers may not have been spending enough money on the Bluetooth chips, depending on how old your car is. So, listen, for convenience, there's nothing that beats it. But if you really absolutely unconditionally don't want to have to touch anything, then you may need to go hardwired.
Yeah.
At least in my experience.
In fact, I just went and looked up the one I purchased. I think this is probably the same one I recommended back in 2024. I bought it, and it's now down to $20. So,
Wow.
Yeah, I did the same thing, and I thought, and it's still working fine for me. So
if you switch to wireless CarPlay using an adapter, do you then end up with a phone that runs out of power because it's not plugged in and charging?
no, you plug it in
No.
the other one.
You're plugging it into the port of the car, and it's just connecting. It's like a wireless device that it connects to.
No, but Eric's saying that you're right. You can leave your phone in your pocket. At least I can.
Yeah.
But Eric's point is that yes, okay, so it's therefore using your iPhone, and is your battery going down?
Yeah.
And so Eric, to my solution to that is that I got a magnetic mount for my car that also plugs into the car, and therefore it's charging.
Yeah.
So if I'm concerned about power, I just put it on the mount and let it go. And if I'm not concerned about power, I leave it in my pocket.
That makes
Yeah, I
sense.
plug it in for long trips. I used to have long cables, plugging in to power it, and instead got one of these. Somebody turned me on to these like spring cables, so it's short when it needs to be, and then I can pull it in, plug it in, and lay it out, and that works fine for me. I only really use it on long trips because otherwise I'm driving around town doing some shopping, things like that.
Yep. Yeah, let's move on to some of the news stories here that we got this week. Uh, Mozilla actually announced the shutdown of Pocket. Did any of you guys use Pocket? That was part of, I guess it's part
There's
of
a
Firefox.
reason why it's shutting down. And
Okay,
your
go ahead.
question seems somewhat rhetorical.
All right. I'll let you go start off. Or go ahead. Tell us why.
Okay, I didn't mean to hijack that
Not
one.
at all. Oh, no,
I mean,
no.
the concept of Pocket is great.
Mhm.
Having a way to manage all of these things that you're tracking online or don't want to lose online, um, and have everything organized in a logical way. But the problem is, like so many things out there that are great ideas, they just don't catch on. And I think the people that knew about Pocket and might have even been using it, it's all in our echo chamber.
Mhm.
The average person had no idea this thing existed, and that's it. It's gone.
Yeah. How much else have you used it, Chuck?
Well, no, but the question I want to ask, because I use Instapaper,
And I
which
use Instapaper as well.
right, and what I'm trying to remember is if Pocket came out first and Instapaper came out and did a better job, or if Instapaper came out first and Pocket just could never recover or
I
catch up.
I think Instapaper was first, but I'm not going to put money on that because I can't remember for certain.
Yeah, but that's the way I sort of remember it too, Jeff. So I think that was part of the problem, that it didn't offer enough of a differentiating feature set, because I still use Instapaper
Well,
and
what
love
Pocket
it.
offered over Instapaper was, I feel, a more user-friendly interface, but it didn't matter, apparently.
Yeah.
That wasn't enough to overtake Instapaper.
Yep. Anything else? Artie, you want to add anything?
Used it a long time ago, and I think Jeff kind of hinted at what happened. Forgot it was there, and I had probably a paid annual subscription, and then realized I wasn't using it and dropped it, and um, there goes Pocket. So it's like an old friend you haven't seen in years. Okay, well, so it goes.
Well, think courtesy of ChatGPT, Instapaper came out first, January 2008.
Okay.
Mm.
And then Pocket originally was called Read It Later. Came out in
Oh,
2007.
yeah.
Mm.
And then it got
Forgot about
rebranded to Pocket in 2012. So, RIP. See you later. Fortnite. Can you believe I'm saying Fortnite? It did take the top spot at the App Store charts. Are we surprised? Just hours after it came out this past week, the game is in the top of the App Store charts, and right now is #1 free game. And we know the whole story with Epic Games, and it's been out of the store for 4.5 years because of the payments, and Apple's still appealing the court ruling on it. But meanwhile, they, I guess, reluctantly allowed it back in the App Store. Right, Jeff?
Okay, here's the big story here. Not that Fortnite is in the top spot on the App Store. It's that Apple finally let it back into the App Store.
Yeah.
Apple has a reputation among Apple fans as being the good guy and being our friend. And what Apple has been showing, especially over the last few years, is that they're not our friend. And I've said this many times. It's a company. Companies aren't your friend. But they're also showing that that they are totally fine flexing their control over markets uh, when it suits them, and it's creating an environment and an image of Apple as a bully in the space, much the way Microsoft was perceived back before the Internet Explorer uh, lawsuits.
Mhm.
Th- So great, Fortnite's back on. But you know what? Ultimately, Apple has a new attitude, and it's going to continue biting them, and they're tarnishing their own reputation.
Yep. Chuck, anything you want to add?
Oh boy. I think it's really interesting, and I don't think Jeff and I necessarily agree on this. But yeah, they're a company, and they need to do what's best for the company and for the shareholders. That's the obligation. You can argue what they've been doing is good or not. Um, I think it's interesting how so many people have really jumped on Apple, saying this is kind of all Apple's fault, when we've seen Tim Sweeney just manipulate the court and manipulate the facts and manipulate the circumstances to successfully paint Apple as the bad guy, when actually, in my humble opinion, he's the bad guy. And so, you know, I don't know exactly what the thinking was, other than Apple just figured, good money after bad. We're not going to do it. We're going to let them back in and let them go and see what happens. So if you're playing Fortnite, you are facilitating a jackass like Tim Sweeney, and stop it. Go play Monopoly or something,
Well,
because
Chuck, we are in agreement.
Are we? Okay, good.
Yeah, it's just that I don't see Apple as a knight in shining armor.
No.
I don't see him as a knight in shining armor, but I never have.
A lot of people have, though.
Well, yeah, and I think they are. Jeff, I don't know about you, but I feel like a lot of the tech journalists still have that hacker attitude, that everything should be free and everything should be wonderful, and it's the rest of us have had to kind of grow up and recognize that that's not the way the world works. It's great if it's great as long as you can keep it going, but there's a time that somebody's going to try to bully you, and if you let yourself be bullied, then you're going to be you're going to be victimized. So sometimes you have to punch the bully right back in the nose.
Yeah.
And I know Sweeney wants to position himself as doing that, when in fact he's been the one that's been the bully, and Apple tried to punch back, and so many people jumped to the wrong conclusions. That's the way I see it.
I have a slightly different perspective on that, although you and I are actually in agreement here. I would not say that Sweeney's been the bully. He's been, what can I say that doesn't end up um, putting Dave in a position where he has to censor something I'm saying. Um, he he he's being the horse's ass, and that's not what the wording I want to use. But you're welcome, Dave. And Apple is being a bully, not just with Epic, but I think in the marketplace, and that is going to bite them. But yes, we're in the same camp here. I'm just using a couple different words to describe the main players.
Okay, I'll go with that. Sorry, Dave, we hijacked your show for a little.
No, you didn't.
Back and forth.
Exactly what I knew this topic would get some discussion going. Any last minute things you guys want to add, Ronnie or Eric?
Go ahead, Eric.
Have you tried mirroring Fortnite on an iPad to your Vision Pro?
Have not. Have you?
Just briefly, but I don't play Fortnite, so it. I was hoping somebody who actually knew how to play it would. It's kind of nice, because it's all a nice environment and the sound is good.
That's actually a really interesting idea. Fortnite needs to be Vision Pro native. I'm assuming Fortnite is native for other VR headsets.
Yeah, I would
But
think.
I mean, you should be able to play it as a fully immersive environment as if you're on a holodeck. It's a perfect game for that.
Oh, yeah, that would be kind of cool.
Go ahead, Marty. Then we'll wrap.
Really, I was surprised it was moved back into the game store for Apple, the Apple Store, and went in to look at it and thought, is there some way I can buy this and just make and get, not, and every time it asks me to go out to a side store or a side option, I can say no and then, go ahead and pay the Apple tax on it. So the first thing I did was I looked at the pricing that's listed. It is so confusing. It's like you can't tell what you're buying when you're buying it and which is an annual contract, which is what are add-ins that you don't need and things like that. So it's like, nah, nobody's getting the money.
And that's not intentional at all.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, a couple more stories before we wrap up here this week. The iPhone 7 Plus and the 8 are now considered vintage. Apple did announce this week. It's and some obsolete products lists to add these devices, so we'll get more limited service and repairs that will be considered outdated. The iPhone 7 Plus and two of the iPhone 8 models are going to be vintage, and that means you will be able to potentially get repairs on it, but that's depending on if the parts are available. So at this point, any of those models are running probably iOS 16, or I believe it's iOS 16, and if they've even iOS 15. So they're pretty old and going to get tough to support. Now, the ones that are added to obsolete is the iPad Air 2 and the iPad Mini 2. Those are now from the vintage list to the obsolete list. That means that they're 7 years after they were last made for sale, and they're not going to prepare any of those. So you folks have had that. They're just kind of going to be sitting and dusting, or go ahead and recycle them. I don't think they're going to be much
Lots
worth,
of questions about them at Mac user groups.
Yeah.
Some of the old
Yeah.
members at Mac user groups are still using those devices, and sorry,
Guys
can't
don't
help
do
you.
this. Nope, the apps are not supported anymore, so you got to move on.
Hey, but say one thing about it though. If your battery is holding out, it may not be a great device for
Camera.
daily use, but they still got great cameras on them. I've still got a 6S Plus that I use as a camera, and there's nothing wrong with it at all. So, trying to find a battery replacement, it can be a little bit tough. But if you can stand to have it plugged in for while you're using it, until the battery swells.
Do you use the 6 Plus to check for ticks?
I don't go anywhere where I could get ticks. I don't even like to go in the deep rough on the golf course because of ticks. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Just a couple more stories here related to Apple TV Plus. Apple TV Plus did announce that there's going to be a 5-part documentary film ported on Mr. Scorsese, Martin Scorsese, famous director and producer and writer. They're gonna have some great documentary films that are coming up on Apple TV Plus about him, and it's going to be interesting to see. I think a lot of people like a lot of his movies and a lot of his work, so I think that's kind of cool. Also, you've got Apple did announce some celebrity chef Gordon Ramsay. They're going to have a new series with him. So Apple just continues to expand upon all kinds of great stuff and that appeals to lots of people. So that'll be coming soon. And then also interesting is Apple's got a big summer movie that's expanding into more IMAX theaters due to the overwhelming popularity. It was from Warner Brothers Pictures. It'll be premiering Apple's upcoming F1 film in more IMAX theaters than originally planned to. The movie's going to be up about 400 theaters around the world, and it's coming out on June 23rd. So this film looks interesting. If you like auto racing, and the F1 is a very interesting sport to watch. This is this is going to be a fun thing, and this is very similar to like from Legacy and Top Gun Maverick. So interesting to see where that goes. And then finally, we are able to wrap up. But what I want to make sure we talk about is MacStock. MacStock is here, is coming. It's July 12th, 13th. I'm sorry, July 11th, 12th, and 13th. It's in Crystal Lake, Illinois, and we're going to have we have it at the Holiday Inn right there, and that's our great conference center that's available there. And oh my God, it's 49 days. I can't take looking at that counter. It's coming. So we got some amazing speakers. Chuck's been going through and showing, having interviews with a lot of the speakers already on the road to MacStock, and he'll have more coming soon. So check those out. And as I've said, Mike Burke, that was the last interview, one of the last interviews he did, and he seems like a really great guy. So I'm looking forward to seeing his talk. Marty's going to be there and his son Will. Doc Rock's going to be there with his crew from Ecamm. I can't wait to finally meet him in person. Both Kelly Gamont and Brittany Smith are going to be there. That's the price of admission right there, hanging out with those two wonderful ladies. Brett Terpstra, Allison Sheridan, and just so many others. You can't beat some of the greatest stuff that's going to be here when you have this conference. There's always great things to learn, great people to meet, lots of great networking, and you meet new friends, old friends. It's just, you got to go check it out. And like I said, it's July 11th, 12th, 13th. Anything else, guys? I can't wait to see you all there. We're going to have such a blast. And we really got to get you out there to come see us. And I have a special code if you want to get $50 off the 3-day admission price. It's In Touch 50, and you get $50 off. And we'd love to see you. And again, then the website is max.conferenceandexpo.com. Go check it out. We can't wait. It's going to be here before we know it. So, all right. With that, let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Blue Sky and Mastodon at In Touch with iOS. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we're live streaming, which is Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios. It's great to see Brian F. and Webb and a bunch of others that were in the chat. You were able to hang out with us while we were doing the show live. But you also can go to YouTube and watch the past live streams as well as listen to past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discuss are flipped in that magazine. The link is in our show notes. So you can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. Just go to our website, to our intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are on that site. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Blue Sky and Mastodon at DaveG65. And we'll mix it up, and I'll say, Jeff Gamet, thanks for being here. Always great to have you. Where can people find you?
Well, first, thank you for having me. It's always a lot of fun to get to hang out with you and the rest of the In Touch crowd. Also, congratulations on the new logo for the show.
I forgot to mention that. Yeah, I got some brand new logos. You're going to start seeing it. I'm slowly rolling it out to different social medias, and I got to get the website updated, and we got some nice new fresh graphics, and who knows, you might even have some merchandise at MacStock. We'll see. We can live in hope. Speaking of, so when I'm not getting all excited about seeing everyone at MacStock in July, you can find me on social media as Jay Gamet, and I'm active on Mastodon and PixelFed and Blue Sky right now. And then for shows, Chuck lets me join in on Mac Voices Live on Tuesdays. Dave, thank you for letting me join in on In Touch with iOS. For the British Tech Network, the Big Show on Thursdays, the Mac Show on Fridays. Brian Chaffin and I do the Context Machine, and Patrice Brendamore, and I do Retro Rewatch. Yes, indeed. Thank you very much. And Marty Gencius, thank you for being here. Where can people find you?
Always a pleasure to be with this group. Gencius, Jencius, at mastodon.social or Blue Sky. Monday nights with Eric. We're spending our Monday nights together, and I think we're 57 shows in to weekly of vision profiles, and it's great to work with him. And you can catch that live Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern, or catch it on the playback, either the video or the podcast on all the podcast catchers. Tuesday night with Chuck and Mac Voices and a larger group of fun folks. And then Thursday here with you, Dave, and with In Touch with iOS. And if you want to find out what other projects I'm involved in, just go to the podtalk.net, and it has links to those other podcasts and projects.
Yes. Thank you, Marty. Chuck Joyner, thank you for being here. It's always a pleasure having you. Where can people find you?
MacVoices.com. That's where you'll find the audio and video of the show that I do. We, as Dave said, we've been doing the Road to Mac Stock. In fact, there'll be another one tomorrow with another speaker that will be appearing. I'm also still rolling out some of the NAB interviews. That's going to start coming to a close here soon, but it's been a little bit of a challenge to do Road to Mac Stock, our normal content, and get the NAB interviews out. So there's a lot of great stuff there. Go check it out. Tuesday nights, as a couple people mentioned here, we do a live show on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. We'd love to have you join us and watch this group perform, jump through even different hoops. And on all the socials, you can find me as at Chuck Joyner. Thank you, Dave, as always.
Yes, thank you. And last but certainly not least, Eric Bolden, thank you so much for being here. Where can people find you?
Oh, lots of fun. I can be found on Mastodon at EA Bolden at techhub.social. And Mondays with Marty. Tuesdays, well, with everybody. And Thursdays here again with everybody. And so
got all the OSs covered.
Oh yes, thank you.
All right. Thank you, and thank everybody here that joins us tonight and is listening and watching. We really appreciate it. We love doing this show, and we'll be back again next week. So until that time, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we'll talk again soon. Thank you, guys. Very good.
Is that a kiwi on your head, Eric, or are you just glad to see me?
Oh my!
You
God,
know,
my
if
back
you
is
place
killing me.
your head correctly, it's like there are two large ears. You've got like
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I might have to adjust the next picture a little bit, just to kind of move things out to the edges.
I don't know. I think you did great with this one.
Yeah, now we want to see the girl kiwi. So
yeah. We want to see her big kiwis.
Oh God!
You know, you realize I'll have to blur it out a
with
little.
iOS Dark.
Yeah. Yeah. Put black tape over them.
Oh,
You
yeah.
kids.
Oh gosh. That's fun. That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to say goodbye to the live stream, Mary. Thank you for being here.